I'm Ashley Bigham, an associate professor of architecture at the Knowlton School and chair of the Baumer Lecture Committee. I'd like to remind everyone that following the presentation, we will also take audience questions. So please be formulating a question, and also please remain seated until the entire event concludes, including those questions and answers. So it's my extreme pleasure tonight to introduce our speaker, Mireia Luzárraga. Together with Alejandro Muiño, Mireia is the founder of TAKK, an architecture and design studio based in Barcelona, Spain. In their own words, their projects investigate how architecture can serve as a catalyst for the development of more democratic lives through the incorporation of feminist thinking, ecology, and politics into its practice. Their work takes place both in the public and in the private spheres. Working at the scale of interiors, pavilions, galleries, and furniture, TAKK's clients include major museums, private residential clients, and international brands such as Vitra, Swatch, Hermès, and Moncler. TAKK's work has been exhibited at the Oslo Triennale and in Venice, San Sebastian, Tallinn, Maya, and Rabat Biennales, among others. Likewise, TAKK has participated in exhibitions at art museums in Madrid, Barcelona, at the MAC Vienna, TCDC Bangkok, and Alcova Milano. Mireia and Alejandro are currently Dean's Visiting Professors at Columbia GSAPP in New York. She's also a tenure-track professor there now, and International Visiting Professors at the University of Tokyo. Both are associated professors at the IAAC, Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia, and La Salle, Barcelona. TAKK's projects have been widely published in architecture magazines, including Arquitectura Viva, Plot, Domus, El Mundo, and Architectural Digest, just to name a few. TAKK's work juxtaposes architectural materials and techniques not often associated with each other, like raw materials and refined details, or kitchen designs with genderless social structures, or intimate spaces in the public sphere. Their work also probes new aesthetic realities, emphasizing vivid color, banal materiality, and exuberant formal assemblies. For me, TAKK's work is inspiring and also a refreshing take on how architecture is never simply one thing, but it's a complex network of intricate details that can be expressed at multiple scales, maybe even at exactly what this image captures here. Even when their work is at the scale of interiors, it includes details that reference building scale constructions. These characteristics of their work feel fresh and unique, from the articulation of individual structural elements to integrated lighting, express fasteners, and living plant material. These lessons are particularly useful, I think, also to students, as I know we have many students here now gearing up for their final reviews in a few weeks, thinking about models, thinking about details and construction assemblies. And so I think the work of TAKK really emphasizes the importance of the one-to-one scale prototyping and material experimentation for projects that might come out in a range of scales, from the gallery scale to the building scale. So please join me in welcoming Mireia.
Thank you very much, Ashley, for this warm introduction. I'm very happy to be here. Very happy to have visited all your spaces. It's super inspiring seeing so much talent. I'm very happy to see all of those models that you do, the effort that you do on doing them in these large scales. And I had a lot of pleasure going around and visiting and looking all the mess that you have, looking into your computers also. I think you're doing an amazing job. Also, I visited the making studio that you have. So yeah, congratulations. It's the kind of work that we really like doing in the office. We really mess up with our hands and try to find find the pleasure in how to assemble things together, no? So I will try to explain a little bit the work that we do in the office through some of the projects that we have been developing in the last years. So as Ashley was introducing, the way that we introduce ourselves in the webpage is this TAKK is a research-based architecture office investigating how design can catalyze egalitarian societies through the incorporation of feminism, queer ecologies, and post-human studies into spatial practices. To put a little bit of context of our office, we come from a generation of the Southern European youth who rediscovered the potential of politics in reaction to the austerity measures imposed by wealthier countries following the economic crisis of 2008, resulting in this 15M movement. These mobilizations came together with the legacy that we had in Europe of the pro-social movements of the early 2000s, the anti-globalization movements in Genoa, the Arab Springs, and also the peace marches in Spain in 2004, with demands of strengthening democracies, protecting the welfare states, and fighting against political corruptions. And all of these mobilizations culminated with, for instance, the leader of the anti-eviction movement there, Ada Colau, turning into the mayor of Barcelona. No? So all of this context gave us the conclusion of thinking that we could also, as designers, think that design could be a tool for activism. So in this context, and in 2011, we founded our office in this industrial space that was abandoned due to the crisis after the real estate crash. For us, this large space is crucial since we fundamentally understand architecture as a research practice looking for new material, constructive, and aesthetic processes that foster social transformation and the redistribution of power. That's why I'm so excited to see all of your workshops and things like that. So to give also a little bit of theoretical context, our work aligns within the context defined by critical thinking as post-human studies. These fields recognize the need to decenter human exceptionalism, particularly that derived from the white, male, European, Western, heterosexual perspectives as a completely necessary step to establish a more democratic contract between us and the rest of the living entities of the planet. So within this broader theoretical framework that we divide in these four main axes of action, post-patriarchal, post-colonial, post-carbon, and post-natural, we have been working as a also research-driven studio into establishing this series of long-term investigations categorized into these topics, no? And this investigation enabled us to challenge the ecological, historical, political, and social forces shaping the discipline of design today, and have resulted in the different projects that we have been developing in the office over the past 15 years that are like very wide, no? Like there's a big number of projects, no? Usually working for cultural institutions, as you will see, no? So again, in our practice, architectural devices act as political activators, no? So I will go through all of these research lines, explaining a little bit how we work in the different projects in the office in these different research lines, no? So first of this, it's like I think 5 out of the 6 research lines are mainly having clients on the cultural institutions fields, so where we have a lot of freedom of propose whatever we want, trying to speculate on desirable futures and so on. You'll see now. So first of them is called Interspecies Alliances. It's a research initiative that gathers those projects exploring co-production formats based on interspecies companionship as a key tool to address the challenges posed by the climate crisis. So within this group of projects, we usually explore the active integration of non-human life forms into contemporary design, ranging from, as you'll see, gardens or food sovereignty, to the use of endemic plants as a foundation for soil refertilization, and things like that, no? So, first project that I want to tell you about is this one called Arca Portable Garden, where we were called to propose something in the public space of the city of Barcelona. No? The city of Barcelona is a super dense city that has very few green spaces due to the density, like the fact that we have one river on the left, one river on the right, the Mediterranean Sea, and also the mountain. So it lacks a lot of green spaces, and we were reflecting on how we decide what species, what plant species are taking part on these green spaces, no? And what are the criteria in which we select those plant species, no? And basically, we select them because of very anthropocentric and functional reasons, mainly because of like aesthetic or functional reasons, because they are like more beautiful during the winter and things like that, or because they don't cause allergies, no? But that causes a fragilization of the urban ecosystems, being also like so little, and also a homogenization of the landscape, no? So we were thinking about how to try to select these plant species from a more from another perspectives, or like centering other interest into the also in the context of climate change and of the heat island effect that we're suffering in the city of Barcelona, and of the high temperatures that we have, and so on. And so we were proposing this portable garden that would develop a more complex vision of the possibilities of incorporating nature in the contemporary city beyond these static criteria. No? So in collaboration with biologists and landscape designers, we curated this selection of plant species, for instance, exploring the incorporation of edible species to our green areas, opening the discussion on food sovereignty, or species that were capable to absorb 10 times more CO2 than others, also trying to rethink the emissions that we do in the cities, or species that are able to gather a larger number of pollinators in order to stimulate the biodiversity in the cities. No? So also to socialize these projects, we were generating these celebratory activities where we were able to move the garden from one side to another one. We were organizing a number of activities of kids and people, and organizing this like movement of the Arca, and also like trying to turn this space into a classroom to learn about these situations, and also proposing this kind of new typology of green spaces in the city of Barcelona that could even for instance move to the spaces where there is a lack of green areas, or it could be turned into a classroom for the learning of edible species, and so on. No? So as you see in this example, our projects have this speculative nature that I was saying at the beginning. We think from the material possibilities of the present, but try to imagine alternative scenarios for the future. No? And this project, that was a project that was like lasting for a few years in the public, a few days in the public space, was able to, of course, together with like the agreement of many other experts in the city of Barcelona, significantly, like little by little, we are like changing the regulations on what species are suitable to incorporate in the urban landscape of Barcelona. These are images of our landscape designers and new spaces in the city of Barcelona where we we don't prioritize these aesthetic criteria, but the incorporation of pollinators and so on in the city. No, so little by little, I think the green landscapes in Barcelona are gaining a little bit more of biodiversity. Of course, many experts are advocating for this. No, So really, in this case, no, design is like fostering political transformations. No, another project we wanted to reflect on the public space in the city of Barcelona is this one of pink mountains, and also on the species that are part of our city landscape. No, so in this case, we were reflecting upon the green parrot, the Argentinian parrot, that was very popular in Spain in the 80s and the 70s. As a pet, but little by little, we stopped petting them. But they still are. They're still part of the urban landscape. Of course, they have no predators because, of course, as you can guess, they are not local from Spain. They are Argentinian parrots. So that has caused an overpopulation of these species. And especially in Madrid, they are like trying to control the population by shooting at them. That is causing a lot of like controversies. So there is like this public debate, discussion on whether if we have to control them population or not, because they are really not much affecting the ecosystem just because they are loud and the nests are heavy. And also, if we have to control them, what are the means to control them? No, so we were reflecting on this, on the images, on the image that we have of certain species and how it changed over the decades and so on. We were learning about how they build, how sophisticated they build their nests and so on. And we're trying to propose alternatives on this controversy, on conflict between these species and the humans in the public space of Madrid. No, like the fact of the public space is often like a place of conflict, but it's usually a conflict between cars and between people, no? Cars and kids and moms and elderly and so on. But when we are very much interested in these discussions when there's also another species taking part on this discussion, no? And that takes also part on the public space and so on. No? So we were like, first proposal that we did was to also do this kind of cooperative kind of nests where we could collaborate with the birds in building their nests and trying to avoid the nests from falling down of the trees. It's one of the threats that they say that we are facing with them. And so we built this for museum in Madrid and then like allowed them to start building their own nests in the interior. And second thing we did was in this, like this is back in Barcelona. This is Las Ramblas in Barcelona. It's one of the green lungs of the city of Barcelona that has a lot of trees and therefore a lot of bird species, including the Argentinian parrot. And there's this museum in Barcelona that wanted to bring in their terrace this space for a climatic shelter during the super hot month of August in Barcelona that would create this public space in Las Ramblas that is not directly related to consumption, because Las Ramblas is a super touristic space that if you want to go and visit and enjoy that space, you have to pay for it. No? So we were doing this climatic shelter, but also taking into account other species that also take part in the public space of Barcelona. All of the species that are nesting in this space, no? And so trying to low down, mitigate the heat island effect in the city of in this particular terrace that is like really warm during the summer through passive climate control systems, like for instance this like roof that is like having this cross ventilation and that like has these chimneys that generate this venturi effect, but also generating this garden that is like capable of also making as well as also gathering pollinators to do this kind of cold stove effect and lowering down the temperature, but also incorporating some birdhouses in order to also generate this cohabitation space between humans and other species, and also generating this cover that would allow the birds to pick up some of the materials and generate like to build their nests around Las Ramblas, no? And you see here a little bit the perspective of this project. No? Another project that we designed in this field of research line is this one called Cohabitation Dome, was this soil care infrastructure. We were commissioned by this museum in France, the Frac Center Val de Loire. There's this network of museums in France that have this aim of not being centralized in Paris, and the Frac Center Val de Loire in Orléans is the third collection of architecture in the world after the MoMA and the Pompidou. And so the director decided to do this Biennale of feminist art and architecture, and so he picked up this space in Vierzon, in a city close to Orléans, to the headquarters of the Frac Center, where he wanted to establish the new headquarters of the Frac Center. No? So he wanted us to act in this Biennale in a feminist way, and also how to act as architects in this space that would be the ground zero for the new headquarters of the Frac. No? So when we were looking into the space, we found out that when you have a ground zero, you don't have a tabula rasa. No? So the blank paper is not white. No? So this space was crossed by a multiplicity of agents. No? The fact that it was like an abandoned industrial space that had this damaged roof and the damaged floor that had allowed over the years to generate this microclimate that where there many organisms and microorganisms and like insects and bird species and plant species had found their place there. No? So we wanted to acknowledge that, and in like opposite of acting as proper architects and like sterilizing that space from the non-human incorporations, we were doing this device that would like stimulate the growth of all this ecosystem around. No? So this device was moving around, it was called a Cohabitation Dome, and it was moving around the space, trying to generate, like was like kind of this active element that importing some of the technologies used in greenhouses and so on, such as thermal bulbs and UV bulbs and growing bulbs and fans and irrigation systems and so on, would generate the optimum conditions for this ecosystem to keep on growing. No? And so so we were intended, no? So we were given voice as women to do this feminist approach. So we intended to explore the imaginaries of a society based on affection, which puts itself in the place of the weak, both human and non-human. And that is also based on cooperation instead of competition, and on symbiosis instead of extraction. No? Another one was this one that we called Cat Shelter, where we were working in the city of Rome, again in the public space, and where we were studying the relationship between the Roman society and the cats. And of course, many civilizations, or maybe all of the civilizations in the world, have this very special relationship between cats, where we establish this mutualistic relationship between humans and cats. Cats protect us from pests, and then we look after them. And in this case, and in Rome, this relationship has been like still resisting modernism. No, so modernism, like we have this this modern obsession with sterilizing our cities from other species, but in the case of Rome, cats are still protected by law. And if you detect 2 or more cats in a specific place in the city of Rome, the municipality is forced to protect their habitat, and so you can leave them as feral cats and so on. So there are these organized groups of citizens called the Cátaras that take care of them and feed them and so on. No? And also the cats are the only species allowed into the ruins of the city. This is the colony of cats, a very important one in Torre, Argentina. So we were like on the occasion of this Festival of Architecture organized by the Aquario Romano in Rome, we also wanted to give voice to these other species, no, that also occupy, thanks to this regulation, a space in the public space, no. So we were studying the different colonies of cats, and we established our prototype in the colony of Ignacio Silone, and the project was working with this community of cats through this special and non-anthropocentric architecture. So neither the materials or the form or the spaces were designed for human use, although they occupied the part of the space, no? So again, we were pointing out the emergency of thinking about public space not only from the human, prioritizing human needs, but also taking into account other species that inhabit the city and establish with us and with other species all kinds of mutualistic relationships, no? Resulting in positive outcomes for both species, no? So yeah, so this was the device in Rome. Another research line that we work in the office is this one called vegetal politics. Through this line of research, we scrutinize the colonialist, racist, and speciesist legacy inherent in the construction of modernity and its contemporary influence using the field of plants as our lens, no? So you'll see with these projects, we work on, for instance, the migration policies of the European Union in seeds importation and exportation, relating them to human also migration policies, to more recent discussions on assisted vegetal migration. So I'll explain a couple of projects in here. One of them is called In Transit. And so we were studying the northward progression of the desertification line in Spain that is causing this new political, in Spain and in Europe in this case, this new political figure of the climate migrant that I'm sure that you heard about. And it is this person that is forced to migrate from their places of origin due to the severe weather conditions that are like a consequence of climate change. And so, of course, usually these humans that have to migrate are not so much responsible of the climate change, no? But humans are not the only species that is being forced to migrate, but many other species such as microorganisms, plants, and many other kinds of species are also heading to the north. Also, some of them even don't have legs, so they are having this kind of assisted migration and so on. So we were studying in the context of an exhibition that was studying the future of Barcelona. We were focusing our studies in the plants. So we were studying those species that come from the north of, that now are local in the north of Africa and the south of Spain, but they will be local from in Barcelona in 50 years, no? So, yeah, together again with some botanists, and we were selecting those plant species that will be local in Barcelona, no? And we generated, also we brought this discussion to this museum, and we reproduced we generate this shelter for them, reproduce the light, the weather conditions of these of this future of Barcelona, and then generated this shelter, and even we're also working with this composer to generate this piece of music where we were trying to, we were studying the frequencies that the plants need to, in order to grow slower, no? Usually in the greenhouses in the Netherlands, they try to put some music to them so that they grow faster, but in this case we did the opposite way, no? So also doing a music that was not based on human comfort requirements, so that also the visitor experience was very immersive, no? And in the same filled this topic. We were also working in this case in a glacier in the Alps in Lombardy region, where we were studying how also the melting of the glacier is like going to, according to the experts, is going to generate this kind of evolution from the species that there are now. Like when the glacier is going to start melting, they are going to, like, a super green kind of ecosystem is going to bloom, but then this is going to very quickly consume all the resources until the complete extinction and the generation of the desert. No? So we were like studying this process and also opening the discussion in this exhibition that was called Design to Protect, and that now is also showcased in the Solar Biennale in the MIDAC Museum in Lausanne, and trying to stop the time at some point and trying to protect all those species that are going to disappear in some years. No? Another research line that we pursue in the office is this one that we call Queer Natures, that focuses on the false political neutrality of concepts such as nature, using this as a basis to build an entirely new framework of transformative action. So in these projects, we often rely on technology to question the boundaries of what is natural and to reveal its conservationism. So for instance, we were working in this project called the Garden for Romantic Crossovers, where we try to use the technology from a queer and trans-ecological point of view in order to make the space more inclusive, both for human and non-humans. And so we were trying to work on, like, or look for examples that would question the most common definitions of romantic nature, that in this case are, for instance, we were working in this Matadero, this black cultural center that is like close to this river that has a lot of parks, no? And we were looking into practices, like in this case, cruising, that would challenge the most common definitions of that they happen in nature, but they are not happening in this kind of romantic nature, no? So we were called to work in this place and try to do something that would mitigate the effect of climate change in this like huge concrete square that what in Madrid is like from February to November, it's kind of super warm, and it's close to the river. This is like a real like section where like the difference is like 10 degrees Celsius, like almost in every month. So we were thinking of a project that was called, it was based on a garden to lower down the temperatures in this place. And so you see at the left the project that we proposed, and on the right there was a mock-up, a prototype that we proposed for this exhibition called Eco-Visionaries. So you see the model on the left, and on the right you see the mock-up that we did, where we tried to incorporate all of the elements that we were proposing in this garden, no? So you see on the bottom part, there's this like kind of urban furniture that is like in a thought around this kind of day beds in a very kind of hedonistic way, but also there's these like species that would be there on these pods that are aromatic species, aphrodisiac species, but there's also this shadowing system that would gentle the temperature inside. Again, humidifiers and growing bulbs and things like that in order to be able to soften the temperatures there, no? Or in this other project, that was the design of this 9-meter tall chandelier that was hanging on the I think the largest flea market in Southern Europe or in Europe. Where we were also like trying to use this like huge volume of space to trying to stimulate the biodiversity of the area, and where we like following Karen Barat's research on transmateriality and performativity of nature, we worked with the different wavelengths of the light spectrum in different stages of the plant growth. No, so each of these like floors had a different wavelength of like a different color of light, where like each of the plants was in a different stage of the growth, and what like was like needing this different color of light, and that's how we organized it. Also influencing this idea that what we understand as the natural has this totally artificial condition of our mechanisms of reality, no? Or this other one that is like this satellite chandelier, where we also were called to do an installation in a museum in Barcelona, and we wanted to research on this low Earth, like low orbit, have a little of knowledge of like what's the situation right now, no? And so we were studying how, after the Cold War, after the space race, and after this outer space treaty that was like trying to work on a universal governance of the low Earth orbit. In fact, we're having like a complete lack of governance, and like probably it's something that we would need to think about and know and have some information, no? Because of like. So we were generating this installation that we were asked to do, but most important was that this served as a place for gathering and for bringing people that would explain to the citizenship, and the citizenship would have the chance to ask about this question about this situation. No? So we had these round tables that between us, the artist, and the director of the museum, and the astrophysics guy, that ended up being like just questions to this guy, astrophysicist, on this situation by the people there. No. Another research line that we pursue in the office is this more than human figurations, where we explore the creative potential of integrating alternative references, be they formal, material, or constructive, into the conventional catalog of contemporary design and architecture practice. So with these projects, we seek to explore the transformative potential of operating from positions that blur modern binaries, such as the distinction between human, non-human, nature, culture, object, subject, or dead or alive. And so, for instance, in Solstice, we wanted to explore from which conceptual frameworks we usually formalize architecture, putting them in crisis through the adoption of other material and aesthetic criteria. So in this case, we started exploring with a non-human kind of model to develop a small pavilion. So in this case, it was like one of the first projects where we consciously proposed developing the architecture from the assembly of a multitude of materials from very different origins, turning the project into this kind of open laboratory for the exploration of new narrative, both aesthetic and technical, and that has become fundamental in our work afterwards. No? So you see there's this dome with like materials that are from natural materials collected on site, to garbage, to plastics, to all of different like kind of techniques. And like not usually used in architecture, no? Another one of the research lines that we pursue in the office is this one called feminist technoaesthetics, where we compile a catalog of materials and design techniques that are commonly associated with feminized labor. And so these projects range from furniture design to small pavilions, and the intention behind them is double. on the one hand, to reclaim its knowledge, and on the other hand, to assess its potential for empowering feminist architecture. No? So, for instance, in this project called Mountain, we were working with students to build, in this case, this small pavilion, where we agreed on doing it through some techniques related to feminized labors, in this case, patterning, sewing, cutting, folding, and so on. So on top of this structure, we would manufacture this dress where each of the students would done in this honeycomb way, where each of the students would design this hexagonal piece that we would replicate on all of these different rows. So at the end, we would have like a unique design, collective design that we had been sewing, patterning amongst all of us together, sharing our time while having some conversations. But we would also be able to identify all of the different rows and all of our individual contributions to the design. No? And finally, the sixth research line that we pursue in the studio is this one that we called post-carbon domesticities. As you saw in the previous examples, I already told you, so most of the projects that you saw before are projects that are done for cultural institutions or for municipalities, for public spaces, where we try to capture the attention of the visitor and try to bring a topic that we feel is relevant to bring into society. And through these small devices, we could foster social transformations and at least open these discussions and generate like kind of a reaction and so on, and trying to also foster these changes, in regulations and so on. In this sixth research line, we are more focused on domestic spaces, and more I think less speculative, more in the present, but also with having this vision of how, thinking on how we should or how we could face the current crisis, climatic crisis, and so on. So usually these projects are very much focusing on circular economy principles, the use of natural materials or low carbon embedded materials, the passive climate control systems, proposing new ways, and usually focused on domestic spaces. So one of these projects is the Day After House, where we have integrated material traceability studies with thermographic analysis to achieve this low carbon design. So this integration, this renovation, which is in the city of Madrid, revolves around three main concepts. So first one is to work with thermal gradients. So instead of considering that in order to escape from relying from fossil fuel resources, in Europe we have lots of problems with that, because it's not like energy is not as easy to we have so many geopolitical issues, and we buy the energy for instance, to Russia and so on. So it's not, and of course it's this is going to be an issue in some years from now. So we were trying to not power our home with fossil fuels. So also we stated that probably we don't need this comfort temperature, stable temperature in all the home, but we could have, depending on the different programs, some ranges of temperature that would be wider ranges or smaller ranges, depending on the necessities of each of the programs. So like that, we were building this kind of layers of an onion, instead of distributing our house into corridors and bedrooms, we would we would work with like a box inside the box inside the box, so that the inner box is like more protected from the exterior environment and has like a smaller range of different temperatures, while the one on the outside is more exposed to the external weather conditions. So you see here. Second thing is we just worked with very low carbon embedded materials. As you see, there's like the outer box is what we call the summer house, that has like it is not protected at all. It has no windows and so on. The other box is like having being super insulated with wood and cork, and then the interior that is what we call the winter bedroom, and the interior one is this communal bedroom where we that is even more protected from the exterior. And the third thing was like to very consciously and because of economic reasons, but also ecologic reasons, just to build on top of the 50% of the house, so that so that we also, it's half of the economy, but half of the material, like half of the waste, half of the footprint in definitive. So so you see, the materiality of this summer house contrasts with that of the winter house. You see that the insulation of the walls, the ceilings, and the floors has been removed, and the surface of these elements is finished with the original cement that has a high thermal inertia to capture the heat during the summer. And then the main bathroom is located in the area. Also, we also did this effort on thinking about the different programs that we have in the house, trying to propose alternative modes of habitation for the future. The bathroom is proposing this hedonistic vision, and it's close to the facades with an interior garden that also keeps a fresh environment during the summer. And then, of course, the winter house is opposite kind of materiality. It's very well insulated with wooden-derived materials in order to minimize heat loss and to also lower down the carbon footprint. The kitchen space is also conceived as a gender-neutral environment. It was like located in the darkest and a place of the house with like a service entrance, and now it's located on the center of the house. You can see it from everywhere. Even the desk is like located in a low, it's continuous to the dining area and the working area. So just the working areas are like just lifted for a little bit. And also, we were proposing just one bedroom for the house, exploring the concept of this communal bedroom, also using humans as the thermal focuses, and also reviving typologies from the past where we didn't have these fossil fuel techniques. Then we have another 10K house. Okay. Can you take Sorry, just almost done. So then this 10K, after this renovation, the client approached us to ask us for this 10K house that of course had a very low budget, 10K. So we were trying to analyze the 7 principles that we were having in this day after house, and trying to propose alternatives that were like more economical, but also not losing the economy and the performance of the previous solutions. And this ended up in this 10K manifesto, where we very consciously, so that has these 6 points. First of all, is like in this case we were working in the city of Barcelona, which is like has a softer weather than the city of Madrid. We were also working with thermal gradients, as in the previous one. In this case, in order, for economy saving reasons, we were lifting the with these recycled legs some of the elements of the house to allow the free passage of mechanical systems. So to like save money on roofs and things like that. We also reduced the material palette to the minimum, just using MDF in this case and wool coming from the transhuman ship of the Pyrenees in Spain. And this insulation material is like very rich, but this wool is usually discarded because it cannot be used for textile industry because of they are dirty. But this sheep do these amazing tasks for the biodiversity of the region. So we love the material. We also didn't do the finishing. We saved on that. The client can do it in another phase of the construction. We wanted to prioritize the economy in other things. We also conceived the kitchen and the bathroom in this kind of hedonistic way, putting them in the best places of the house, close to the facades, well lit and ventilated, and also like thought to be used even in crowds. And also, and the most important for the budget is this of the self-construction. So instead of like thinking of something that should be done with experts, we just like basically design this furniture of IKEA, and just with a CNC milling machine, we like not need of experts. We just assemble that on site, and then in 2 weeks, and it was all done. No? And last, I would like to explain this seasonal house like very quickly. Just coming back to where I started in the office that we built, like that we hired some years ago in Barcelona, and but this space, without being a project of architecture, because it is like changes through time, we have been little by little domesticating it in order to make it also a space for living, and very much based on the principles of circular economy, because like, based on our surrounding material environment, and also on the materials that come back and forth after every installation, we have been domesticating this space in order to live a little bit better. No? So it's called the seasonal house because it is this like a huge space where we have a lot of space, but we have no energy, so we have no heating or cooling. So what we have done is to like generate a series of pavilions, or like a series of bedrooms or shelters that allow us to live a little bit more comfortable depending on the season. No? So some of the spaces are used in the summer, some of the spaces are used in the winter, depending on the weather conditions, and thanks to that we have a lot of like space there. No? So first, for instance, this is the winter bedroom that we built with like leftovers of the sofa industry that we have like around our space, and it's super comfortable during the winter, and it's really like it's really made that change when we built it. We have a winter coach. So all of these things, when we have some time and some spare materials, we start building things at home. No, this is the summer bedroom. So we did this. There's a moment, like I think in a month or something like that, that it's like winter bedroom is like so hot. So we built this out of the scaffolding, also again of our material environment, and with this very vernacular kind of screen that we have in Barcelona, that it's very common during the summer, where you in the lower photo you see it closed. In the summer during the day you close it so that the heat doesn't come in, but in the night you open it so that the ventilation goes around. So not all of the materials, we work them like they are screwed, and they are able to be dismantled whenever we need them for another thing. And here you see like the winter bedroom together with the bath. So also we did this kind of tropical bathroom. All of these plants that you see here are all of the plants that you have seen in all of the other pavilions that I showed you before in all of the other projects. And these frames of wood came from another installation that we did for another museum, no? So that we turned it into something else. No? This is a vertical sauna that we did for Vitra last year. So the lower seat is like less warm than the upper seat, and that could be potentially a solar sauna. And this is Roma's bedroom, that we also built with lots of different small pieces coming from leftovers materials, and many other pieces that we build there when we have a little bit of time. Pieces of furniture, with the assembling of many different kinds of materials. This is a cinema. I went to the San Sebastian Biennale last year, and I think that's it. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm.
It's like they seem to be very kind of like organic or like naturally inspired, and so it's just kind of like wondering if there's kind of like you go into it with a sort of kind of like predetermined order, or if it's kind of more like one decision informs the next.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think we have a lot of projects every year, it's like no small projects as you saw, but like many of them, no? So I think it usually starts with a conversation with the curators or with like probably sometimes, for instance, in this one of the Garden for Romantic Crossovers, it was like they wanted us to do something it was called Eco-Visionary, so to mitigate the effects of climate change. In the one of the portable garden, it was like to intervene on the public space from a interspecies point of view. No? So it's like, of course, we are already the commissions they give us like are very also many times very aligned with the work that we do. No, so it usually starts by readings that we have been that we are enjoying in the office, So in the case of the Garden for Romantic Crossovers, we were reading a study from a biologist of Columbia that was studying how the birds, in order to try to adapt to climate change, because they are confused whether they have to migrate or not, they are starting to try other forms of adapting, like trying to even having homosexual relationships and more birds and so on. And we were like, okay, this this kind of crazy nature, how could we turn it into a project? How could we talk about this kind of queer situation that we have around? And then it's true that we have this. Of course, it's not a linear process. First we read, then we sketch, and then we do. No, but because we have many of them, we also love architecture and structures and lightweight structures, and because we do the effort of building them ourselves, we try to work with the knowledge that we have, the materials that we have. So we also start okay, what if we in this Garden for Romantic Crossovers, okay, we need to build a very lightweight structure. Okay, it makes sense that it's radial. Okay, it's like kind of a think beam. Okay, let's do a tensegrity. So, and then we start sketching. We start sketching hand drawing, and then we start working in Rhino. So it's not that we are artists that we think while we really do this kind of usually work in Rhino, and then we CNC mill and then we assemble at the office and so on. No? So it's a very not linear, but it usually it's like that. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yeah, like the you mean the how you work? We work with the team in the office, like.
Yeah, like how does like you're saying like you lead and kind of find a goal
Mm-hmm.
where does one project stop
Yeah.
another start?
Yeah, that is like that is like, well, it's like kind of how we organize the office. So it's like we have our no, so you know, we have many projects going on at the same time, and we probably like we start a project a year in advance, something like that. But like so then like this project a year in advance is like just like having this kind of evolution of how of the research and of the so like, okay, what species are in the glacier and so on, and like a very like conversations and so on. But then it's like we usually organize the schedule like we are super focused one project after the other one. No? So now, for instance, we are doing the Venice Biennale. So we have the Venice Biennale is like on the 9th of, we're curating and producing a pavilion there. So it's on the 8th of May. So now we're like completely focused on the Venice Biennale, on building it. But we have 5 or 6 that are coming afterwards, but we are like just like thinking of them, having these conversations and so on. But the pure design, build, craft, everything is on the Venice Biennale. So the team in the office is like buying material, testing material, building material. So the team, we're like very much hands-on kind of team. So the people in the office hate sitting on a computer. They don't want to do that. They just want to work with their hands. So now all of them are in this Venice Biennale, and then Alex, my partner, is also very focused on that, and I am probably doing more the other ones, like talking with the clients and so on, and like that. And then but the week before was the Solar Biennale, where we were opening a Biennale in Switzerland, and so on. Or the week after, like we did so it's like I think every month we are like really focusing on one of them, but the rest of them are happening at the same time, and that allows us to do all of this contamination. So that was like why I was showing you the whole portfolio, because sometimes it's like one project and trying to do the effort in the lectures to show a lot of projects, because sometimes with one you don't get to, it's not, they don't have this intensity of the architects that have like, okay, I have one building that has a lot of intensity, but all of them are contaminated between the other ones, and like having cross, and then we use this idea of this one. No, so I was in the Institute of Lightweight Structures in Stuttgart. So the PhD students are like really focused on doing a lightweight pavilion or a lightweight structure, and they take 4 years to develop something. And they were like, but how do you do so many? And it's like, okay, because mines are probably, this one has this one has that, and then you explain them all at the same time, and then it makes sense. It's not that. So so I think that is how we operate a little bit. Yeah.
I found it fascinating when you were talking about how lower frequencies like make plants grow slower. And I was wondering if there's a purpose behind that in the installation or and also do you know why this like lower frequencies make plants grow slower?
Okay, so the plants in the frequency, yeah. So we were like, you mean in transit? Sorry, I didn't hear you very much. In the in transit project, the music, the composition of the. Yeah. Now I can't remember the details, but we were, so you know that the greenhouses in the Netherlands, no, they or for instance, not like during or we are very much worried about that. No, so we love these kind of greenhouses because there's this combination of like, there's no distinction between nature and culture, no, because there's the technology and the nature is kind of very affected by not the sun but the technology. So that is like something that we like very much. But these places are also very much focused on being very effective, overstressing the production and so on. Same as, for instance, why we love growing things in the in the Caribbean or in the Azores, because they grow faster, because they have more humidity and so on. No? So we learned that it's not just that they use, for instance, the growing bulbs, instead of being like a solar system, 12 hours a day, they are illuminating them so that they grow faster, and so they are affecting them so much. And then also we learned that they also put some kind of specific music that allows them to grow faster. No, so it's very interesting, but also very perverse and capitalistic and so on. No? So we wanted to, okay, what if we do the opposite? No, so what if we what if we and in this space, what if we no? And I think in the Netherlands they use this. It's jazz and classical music and so on, and we were this is more the research that the composer did, but he was analyzing what are the sounds and frequencies that are really generating them to be happy and grow faster, and we're trying to do the opposite thing, with certain frequencies of sound they would grow slower. And I remember the cover, the composer trying to do the sounds that we would also like as humans, but we told him no, just for the plants. And it was this kind of interesting way to also digging into the project. But I cannot tell you, because I'm also not a musician, so I cannot tell you exactly what are the frequencies, what is the sound, but it was a really interesting work. And I don't know if they grew slower or not, to be honest, but it was interesting. Yeah.
I do. Okay. All right, we have one final. Okay. So you mentioned the 6 lines of research that your projects fall into, but you also mentioned that due to the constant kind of nature of the workflow and how many you have in the pipeline, that there are elements of kind of a crossover between project to project. What is one of the main kind of, maybe it's elements, resources, philosophies, or interests that you find in your work crosses between all or many of those lines of research?
Thank you. I don't know, So I think this kind of, we are very in love with some of the materials that we work with, no? So you will see a lot of chains in our work, a lot of we love this kind of very lightweight, where you separate the traction from the compression, and so you see a lot of kind of tensegrity kind of structures. Also because we usually work with very low budgets, so we really need to save a lot on materials. We also, because we work, because we carry ourselves and we load everything, and we're not very strong. We also try to be very lightweight. I don't know. We also evolved, no? So the use of color. The use of we also evolve on what we like. No? So now we're in love with bricks and so on, and with wood. And before we were working more in this kind of more organic and probably we work very much with foam. We don't work with foam that much anymore. We work very much with radial symmetry. I think we repeat that a lot. Then we find a material we love, for instance, now we love a lot this wool, and then we put it everywhere. So it's and then so then we recycle a lot. We recycle a lot of ideas from one project to the other one. Yeah. Okay, thank you.